Primal Paleo Caveman diet rediscovered. So it is what it is. Basically, if you actually do a bit of deep dive and research, a lot of the stuff they're saying about, our ancestors 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, even older, is that they're finding fossilized shit, power of deduction. All this information is pointing towards that they actually had massive amounts of plants in their diet. Now, so their vitamin C through the roof, their fiber through the roof, their carbohydrate through the roof. The biggest factor, 200,000 years ago, the human brain started getting bigger. And for a long time, everyone just thought, oh yeah, we're just eating lots of meat, and the calorie surplus allowed us to, grow our brains. And this was obviously in conjunction with the advent of being able to make fire. About 200,000 years ago, humans mastered the art of making fire. But in reality, why people thought we were eating meat, and that's why the brains grew, is because they found a lot of fossilized arrowheads and bones, because they preserve really well as fossils. They're very easy to find. The other plants turn into compost. It doesn't get perfectly preserved. So basically, when they got a bit more critical, what they discovered is because our brain primarily runs on glucose, which is a type of carbohydrate. And basically, when you get more fuel available, then the brain will decide to go bigger, because you actually can give it enough fuel to support the bigger engine. It's like there's no point in having a V8 engine in a car if you don't have the money for the extra fuel, So basically, so what they discovered is, 200,000 years ago, humans started making fire. They discovered we can bake potatoes next to the fire, put the potato in the fire next to the fire, wrapped in a leaf, whatever, get the baking done, put it on some hot rocks, hell, even boil it in a hot spring. Maybe even before 200,000 years ago, before we learned how to make fire. But basically, so this unlocked more carbohydrate calories for our brain, for our body. Our whole entire body just loves carbohydrates. It's primary and preferred fuel source for the whole entire body. Your immune system, your brain, your organs, everything. So yeah, very critical. Now, potatoes, very basic, dig them up. They last all year round in the ground. Super easy to grow. I'm sure some of our ancestors would have planted little patches all over the place so that they can travel around and harvest them. And yeah, there was obviously a lot of that going on. Everyone loves potatoes. There's a reason why French fries are on every single menu in every single restaurant, every single place you will ever go to, sells French fries, potatoes. So it's very much in our DNA to enjoy potatoes. Even in our saliva has an amylase enzyme that specifically digests starch into sugars. So when you're eating the starchy potatoes, it's just instantly getting converted into sugar, And a lot of people, interested in low GI or low carb, all this stuff. But potatoes, extremely high GI. It gets absorbed straight into your bloodstream. It's higher GI than sugar. So a baked potato gets into your bloodstream extremely quick. Now, this is a good thing if you understand, diabetes and blood sugar. What you understand is blood sugar spikes are actually really healthy. You want them to go up, then back down to a healthy level. But what happens is sustained elevated, which is diabetes. If you eat too much fat and then eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar goes up and it will stay up, and it's called sustained elevated insulin levels. So a spike is not bad. If you didn't have blood sugar spikes, you'd probably end up in a coma because you wouldn't be able to, it's just a natural function for digesting food, So absolutely absurd that people think blood sugar spikes are unhealthy when it's actually the healthier option compared to blood sugar going up and then staying up. Diabetes, sustained elevated insulin levels all day long, so it's a very misunderstood thing. But yeah, so our ancestors really smashing the potatoes like crazy. If you've ever grown potatoes, you understand that it's one of the easiest crops to grow. It's a survival crop. You can plant the vines, you can plant all sorts of different potatoes as well. We can never know for sure what type of potatoes our ancestors were eating, whether they were yams or sweet potatoes or potatoes, or some sort of other type of tuber. But yeah, it's very obvious when you really look at detailed science that there's no other reason why our brains would have developed so fast and so big the way that they are now. Even now, if you do a low carb diet, basically you have to start lowering your output, if compared to if you're getting enough carbs. If you're getting enough carbs, you can really fire on all cylinders and just go and 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 go. And it can be good to try and, think efficiently and smartly, not just, be a workhorse. But I'd say definitely for sure when you look at, all the highest performing university students, all the, they come from foreign countries, China, Nigeria, all sorts of countries. They're eating high carb, low fat foods. Like the top performing university students, they're not eating the oily noodles and stuff like that. They're eating, clean, lean, steamed rice, corn, all these super lean carbohydrate sources. So definitely the human diet beforehand was potatoes and fruits predominantly, a bit of leaves, very easy to get in nature, a bunch of fruit here. These can be easily planted, break off a branch, stick it in the ground, it will grow a whole entire another tree, So our ancestors were definitely capable of digging up potatoes, baking potatoes, breaking branches, sticking them in the ground, growing stuff pretty easily. And if you really look into a bunch of survival crops, there's a whole heap of different tubers that were, readily available everywhere. And even if you look in recent history, 200, 500 years ago, pumpkins, all sorts of, foods just grow like crazy, if you really give them a chance. So don't be fooled by all the new paleo stuff where they just promote, all expensive, expensive selling shit, meat and organs, the stuff that's very basic understanding when it comes to what our ancestors used to eat, for sure. When they were starving to death, they're gonna, chase down some animals and whatever they can. But if they got potatoes, I'm telling you right now, they're eating potatoes. They're not risking their lives chasing after woolly mammoths when they've got, buried potatoes in the ground. That I can definitely tell you, steak isn't on every menu, but French fries is definitely on every menu. And so if you agree with this sort of stuff, or even if you don't agree, but you're interested in this topic, I've got a lot more information on this topic, especially when it comes to different plants and the possibilities of them, being the main food that potentially our whole species, you know, evolved eating daily. So just, you know, stay tuned, subscribe, check out my other videos, leave a comment if I missed out anything. Yeah, I'm sure I missed out a lot. I got a lot more information to give. Yeah, so just get out there, try the potato only diet. If you never tried the potato only diet, I recommend doing potatoes only, no oil, just baking them for, you know, do it for 2 weeks. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Our ancestors always woke up in the morning, walked down to the river, drank a shit ton of water, like 1-2 liters in the morning, and then, you know, went out looking for them potatoes. So yeah, all right, peace.
Why were you dehydrated? Why are you dehydrated? Why are you dehydrated?
Because no, sir.
I'll tell you why! Because you're not finishing the goddamn water!